Good afternoon. Today I want to continue a little bit the conversation that I started in the first video of this month, which was about striking a balance between staying too open when you're planning or being too rigid. Of course, if you stay rigid, like if you're rigid, you kill creativity. So if you're too rigid, too strict about your planning, whether that is your 10-year plan, like the how do I get out of my day job plan, or whether that is just the outline of your next novel, or maybe even your 1-year plan, like what am I going to do next year, like what am I going to produce, what am I going to output. It could be your marketing plan. If you're too rigid, too strict, what happens is that you don't leave any room for any detours that could be fruitful. You don't leave any space for bits of inspiration to strike you that will eventually make what you're doing better. So yeah, being very strict, being very rigid, I always say that is what kills creativity. You have to stay open to a certain extent, because of course, as I discussed in that video as well, if your planning is too open, if your plans are too broad, how do you gather the energy and the purpose to get where you want to end up? Like, you need some kind of path, but you need to stay open for the path to have that detour, or for the path to end up elsewhere, somewhere better maybe than you could have ever envisioned. So this is what I discussed in the first video of this month. So what I want to talk about today is how you can plan and prepare for optimal growth. So if you are making that plan, if you're working on that balance, if you are planning and prepping for whatever you are thinking about. So like I said, maybe you are working on your 10-year plan, maybe you're working on your 2-year plan, maybe you're working on a marketing strategy for the release of your books, maybe you are planning your next novel, maybe you're planning the non-fiction you want to write, having written a few books. Now you have a story to tell and you're planning that one. No matter what you are preparing at the moment, or know you want to start preparing soon, I want to talk about how can you do that in a way that I will never say guarantee success, because success is too complex. Like, I don't believe, I don't trust programs or coaches or editors who promise you that you can write a bestseller, that you can have success, that you can, because even though there are strategies and you can learn all of that, there is something like some parts are beyond your control. So I will never say that, but at least when I talk about optimal growth, I talk about your optimal growth. So what is in your best interest, what is beneficial to you. So of course, so what I have for today is I prepared a few questions that you can go through if you are in this sort of preparatory phase, this planning stage, and you feel that something is off. Like, of course, like if it's flowing, if you're working and you're outlining, you're brainstorming, you're mind mapping, and it's all flowing, you have nothing to worry about. But if you're looking at whatever plan you are currently preparing, and you just feel that something's off, like there's something wrong, you can't put your finger on it, but something doesn't feel right, I have a few questions for you that you can sit with in order to listen a little bit more to your intuition and figure out, okay, so if something's wrong with my plan, what might it be? What am I doing wrong here? And this is something that you could either do as like a journaling prompt. So you can take the questions, write them down, sit with them until the answer comes. The other option, I was going to first explain. The other option would be to invite a friend, someone you know, someone you trust, to invite them to sit with you, maybe even record it, and then they ask you the questions, and what you do then is you take as long as you need for the answer to show up. This is the other option. The same goes for the journaling, by the way. Like, if you don't get the answer right away, you just sit with it. And I've heard so many people recently asking me, how do you just sit with it? It's as hard and as simple as it sounds. You just sit with it. You're quiet. You don't do anything. You just sit with it. And every time you feel that your attention is drawn to something else, you go back you go back to the question and you wait. And sometimes if you wait for a long time, that I'm not talking hours, if you wait for a long time, so a few minutes, and nothing comes, maybe it's the wrong question at the time. Maybe there is no answer. Maybe you're actually doing something right at this. Maybe some things are wrong. I'll go into that in a few seconds. But you know on some level whether you need to wait a little longer, whether you got the right answer. Sometimes you just need to start talking or writing, because sometimes something first needs to get out of your system before the actual answer can show up. I mean, we're bombarded daily with opinions, expert opinions about how we should do things, and that actually blurs our vision. So it's not that odd that it takes, it can take a while before the actual answer, like our own answers, our own voices, find a way, through all those layers, and we can actually sort of see them like in the crowd, like, oh wait a minute, that's me. That voice I'm hearing, that is actually me. Okay, so this is good. This is what I need to be listening to. But that can take a little while, because we know so many opinions by other people. It's very easy to forget your own opinion. And you do need to listen, even if you think you know nothing. You do need to listen to your inner voice, because especially when you're planning your own output, this is the voice you need to be listening to, because this is your work. Okay, so how are we going to do this? I'm just going to, what I suggest is this. I'm just going to flip my page. What I'm going to suggest is this. I'm going to give you the answers. If you want to do this, what you first do is you look at the thing you're planning. So you go through your notes, you go through your outline, you go through your mind map, your brainstorm, however you have done. Everybody has their own kind of, like, I like mind mapping with colors and stuff. Everybody does it in their own way. So you go through it, you look at it, and then the first question you ask yourself is there anything wrong with this picture? And you take your time here, because like I said, real answers might take a while before they come to the surface. And likewise, we might take a while before we can discern them. Understand that, wait a second, that is the answer. That is the answer that I was looking for. So take your time here. If you get a no, if nothing is wrong with this picture, that's good. Because it could mean that even if you feel like something is off with your planning, it might not be the planning that something's up with. It could be that the planning is absolutely on point, but you're afraid of something. You're afraid that you're not able to do it, that it's not good enough, that it's not fast enough. Could be something else. You might be afraid what people say, especially if you're working on your 10-year, how do I get out of my day job plan? Or your 3-year, I'm going to write 20 novels in this time plan. You might be afraid what people might think about that when they find out, like, are you crazy? You really think you can do this? If that is the right plan for you, of course you can do it. But you can be afraid what other people might think if they were to find out. So in that case, what you do is ask this question. If nothing is wrong with this picture, why am I feeling this way? Again, sit with that for a little bit and just let the answer come. Like I said, sometimes you need to speak for a little bit or write for a little bit. And this is actually why I recommend recording this if you do this with a friend, because you might need to listen to it again before you realize, oh, wait a second, I'm talking, and that this is the answer. In between the things you've said, you can sort of at some point feel like, but this is the answer that I'm looking for. So it's very useful to record and just listen to it again and see if you can, amidst all the noise that you're producing, can you pinpoint the actual answer. So if you get a no on the first question, ask that question. If nothing is wrong with this picture, why am I feeling this way? Second question, if you do get a yes, would be, what about this is not in my best interest? again, this can go multiple ways depending on the kind of personality you have, the kind of person you are, because depending on the plan that you made, maybe you're holding your back, maybe you could do a lot more, but you're just playing it safe, and your planning is like, it's not in your best interest to keep yourself small like this. You need to, like, we need higher stakes. We need to get cracking. You're not gonna say, like, if you listen to my last, like, was it the last video? Maybe the second one of the month. Maybe your planning is going like, isn't this a little lazy? Like, come on, you can do better than this. At the same time, you could also be shooting for the stars in a not so constructive way, setting you up for failure because it's just not realistic at all. So maybe you're asking this question, what about this is not in my best interest, will help you. It's like a reality check. What about this is not working in my favor? Because either way, you're setting yourself up for failure if you're going at it not with enough gusto enough, or if you're going at it too big, bold, beyond, which is not a bad thing. But you do need to take into account that you still need to take care of yourself. Why do you even want something that's like, why do you even want to achieve something in such a small time? If you don't, if sorry, my throat is still, I don't know what it is. Where was I? If you, why would you even want a plan that is actually going to, at one point, paralyze you because it's asking too much of you? And you know what is best for you. And this is a very important question to sit with, because you can actually listen. Like, the moment you start listening to yourself, you will know, this is why I should or should not do this. And this is what this particular question helps you with. Same thing if you're writing a novel that is it's a particular subject, or you're writing something that you're not sure how to do, or do you know enough? You can ask the same kind of question. Should you be writing this? Should you be going into this particular topic? Are you setting up your characters in the right way? Is this sending the message that you want to send? Whatever comes up. But like I said, also take your time here, because this is also a very complex question, but it's crucial. Once you get this answer down, then of course the third question, the last question, how can I change this in such a way that it is better aligned with me? So how can you change it in such a way that it is more in line with what you want to do, what you want to say, what you want to bring to the world, in line with what you can achieve in what time in your particular context? What can you change? Like, how can you change it in such a way? And this could mean multiple things. Maybe what is wrong with your planning now or your outline now is just a very minor thing. You just need to, you just a little shift, and then you're fine. Sometimes it means you need to rewrite a little part. It could also mean that you have to start from scratch. But if that is the case, just remember, it's always better to start out with a plan that actually works for you and not against you. And if you're doing something that is not aligned with you, it will always work against you. And in the long term, that is not beneficial. Not to you, not to the message you want to bring to the world. So even if you have to start all the way from scratch, that's absolutely frustrating. I know, I've been there. But it's always for your own best interest. So keep that in mind as you do this. That's it. Those are my 3 questions. I would love to hear if you do this. And if you do, this is a very vulnerable exercise. So if you don't want to share with me, I can totally get that. But if you do want to share, or if you're going through the questions, you're like, what am I even doing? Feel free to leave a comment or send me a message, and we can talk about this. Before I leave, I just wanted to say this Friday, my next heart-to-heart Can I tell you the time? Yes, I can figure out the time. My next Heart to Heart is happening with Sheena Mary. She's my co-writer, and we are gonna have a very honest conversation. She promised me she'll be absolutely honest, and I'll do the same about co-writing. So we're writing a romance series together. So if you are co-writing, or if you want to co-write, if you have questions about that, if you just want to hear what our process is like, because we will tell you, we will explain to you, like spell out how we do it, and that's just one way of doing it. There are multiple ways people co-write together. So if you wanna tune in on that, that's Friday, and that will happen at 7 p.m. UTC +3. So this is my time zone, but I'll leave the link to the event in the comments, so you can just click it and figure out what it is for you. But do join us. If you have questions on beforehand, feel free to send them to me, send me a PM, and of course there will also be the replay, and it will be uploaded on YouTube, so you can look at it if you don't get the chance to see it. But it's going to be fun. I mean, I always love doing lives with Sheena, and I love to talk about our process, because we just found this is one of those things. If we talk about intuition and being aligned, this was we tried it. Like we were like, let's just try this, and it worked like immediately. It was like immediately like later on we were like, should we just mix it up, do something else? And we're like, no, I think this might be a really good process for us. And it's also just something that we just came up with, like, I think this might be the best thing for us. Let's try it. And then immediately it worked. So speaking of being aligned and being intuitive, hopefully see you on Friday. Otherwise, see you on Monday. Have a good week. Bye-bye.